Am I the a-hole for not splitting the inheritance when I was the only one who took care of our hoarder mother? I, 34 female, was the only one out of 4 siblings who stayed in contact with our mom after our dad died. After his passing, she completely fell apart and eventually became a full-on hoarder, the kind you see in documentaries. The house was in horrific condition. It reeked of ammonia. There were dead mice decomposing under piles of trash, mold on the walls, rotting food in the fridge, and literal human waste in corners of the house. One by one, my siblings distanced themselves. They said it was too much for their mental health, too overwhelming, and not how they wanted to remember her. I understood it on some level, but I couldn't bring myself to abandon her. So I stayed. I visited her every single week. I bought her groceries. I managed her medications, paid bills she was too confused to handle, scrubbed floors stained with urine and worse. I fought with her constantly about getting help, about seeing a doctor, about letting someone clean, but she was stubborn and deeply in denial. When she died last year, it was me who found her, alone, surrounded by the chaos she'd built around herself. That image still haunts me. There was no dramatic reading of the will, no lawyers involved, just a handwritten note that she had left behind, dated and signed, stating clearly that everything, the house and the little bit of savings, should go to me. Her words, because she's the only one who's been here. And I was. After her death, I had to clean out that disaster of a home. I paid thousands out of pocket for a professional hazmat team. It wasn't just messy, it was hazardous. I dealt with it all alone. The grief, the cleanup, the paperwork, the funeral arrangements. Once everything was finally cleared, the house was appraised. And to my shock, it's now worth nearly $750,000. And now, as if on cue, my siblings have suddenly resurfaced. After years of silence, they're calling and texting, claiming I manipulated her, that I cut them off, that I isolated her to influence her decision. One even had the audacity to say, "You profited off her illness." But I didn't profit, I survived. I lost years of my life to that house, to that trauma. I lost my peace of mind, my health, and almost my marriage trying to take care of a woman everyone else had already abandoned. I told them no. I told them they didn't get to forget her when she needed them and then try to claim her when she became valuable. Now they're threatening to sue me, saying they'll challenge the will even though there's no evidence of coercion or foul play. I don't feel guilty, but I do feel tired. So tired. So here I am asking, am I the a-hole if I refuse to split the inheritance 4 ways just to get them off my back? Now for the top comments. You need a lawyer to get that will validated in probate court. If it's not declared valid, the estate will be divided equally between all heirs in most jurisdictions. At the least, keep your receipts for all the work done to clean it up, as you will be reimbursed before any payouts happen. Not the a-hole. To add to this, try to find any receipts for care of your mom and her home over the last few years. Ask the lawyer at very least if the hours spent can be reimbursed somehow. If you didn't do these tasks, your family would have had to hire a caregiver or cleaners, for example. Good luck, not the a-hole. This is probably the best way to go about things. Make a log of hours, supply receipts. Without a filed will and a mentally ill mother, the estate probably will get split, but you can probably get more reimbursement for your care and attention. Vultures always appear when the hard work is done. I hate how true this is. My grandma and great-aunt, twins, had Alzheimer's, and we took care of them for years with no help from my aunt and uncle. My aunt and grandma had a decades-long beef, and the very day we were getting them together to bring them to the manor because they'd progressed past the point we could adequately care for them, guess who showed up to go through their belongings? I was getting my grandma out of bed, and she heard my aunt's voice from the living room and hissed in my ear, "Why the hell is she here?" This was a woman that couldn't remember what she ate for breakfast 10 minutes ago, but just my aunt's voice rang something so deep-seated she was lucid for a moment. My brother was going to try, but his lawyer told him he wouldn't win because Dad had it notarized and done by an attorney years before he died. Plus, he already got money. He would have to prove Dad was coerced or not, of sound mind, which would be hard with multiple witnesses, including his attorney. Dad was sly and put me on both house deeds, so it wasn't even an inheritance. It was already my property with rights of survivorship. My dad was a smart businessman and super shrewd. Miss him every day. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister she's not entitled to our grandmother's house just because she needs it more? Our grandmother passed away a few months ago and left her house to me and my sister equally. The will clearly states that the house is to be sold and the profit split 50-50. There was no ambiguity. I was very close to my grandma, especially during her final year. I visited regularly, helped with groceries, appointments, and was her primary support in her final months. My sister, on the other hand, barely visited. She'd check in once in a while, but the emotional and physical caregiving fell almost entirely on me. Now that Grandma's gone, things have gotten complicated. My sister is insisting we don't sell the house. She wants to move in and keep it in the family. She's a single mom with 2 young kids and says she needs it more than I do. She's called me selfish for wanting to follow the will, and recently she even hinted that if I push for the sale, she'll never forgive me, as if this is a personal betrayal. I've tried to be reasonable. I told her I'd be open to her buying out my half so she could keep the house, but she says she can't afford that, and that I should do the right thing by letting her have the entire property, because I'm child-free and financially stable, while she's struggling. She believes that because I don't have the same financial pressures, I should just give up my half for the sake of family. It's turning into a full-blown family drama. A few extended relatives, who weren't around even during Grandma's decline, are calling me cold-hearted and greedy. They're siding with my sister, saying she has kids to think about, and acting like I'm trying to kick her out into the street. No one seems to care that this wasn't my decision. This is what Grandma put in her will, and that I sacrificed a lot of time and energy in those final months while my sister was nowhere to be found. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fracture my family over this, but I also don't think it's fair that I'm being pressured to give up half of what was legally and intentionally left to me. Grandma wanted the house sold and the value split evenly. I'm simply trying to honor that. Am I the a-hole for refusing to walk away from what I was legally and equally left? Not the a-hole, and tell your sister she is more than welcome to buy you out of your share for half a fair market value, or pay you rent. But you are not going to give her the house, period. Any other relative chiming in can chip in to help her pay to buy you out. Oh, they don't think they should pay? Well, neither should you. I should just let her have it, because I'm child-free and doing okay financially. It's amazing to me the number of people who think that their major life decisions should become a major problem for their other family members. Kids are hard and expensive, but that doesn't mean siblings should pay for it, or become free babysitters, usually unappreciated too. Right? My son is grown, gone, and married. My husband's 2 kids are grown and gone. The crap we get when we don't want to do something because we don't have kids at home anymore is mind-blowing to me. Yeah, well, we've done our jobs. I work for a living, as does my husband. Our free time is just that. Ours. Buzz off. Not the a-hole. Tell your relatives to buy you out if they care so much about business that isn't theirs. As for your sister, well, tell her that she needs to be an adult and not expect people to care about her and her kids because she's a single mom and to either buy you out or you sell. Her expecting you to lose out on your half regardless of how well you're doing is selfish and entitled. Your sister needs to learn how that her not being able to afford a house is nobody's problem but her own. Please do not cave, because she will never learn and continue to expect everything from you when life inconveniences her. You are well within your right, OP, and do not feel bad. Good luck. It was also an active choice that your sister made to have children. It's not fair to use it against you being child-free. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my father's partner to take back a lie she told my children? I'll preface this by saying I don't have the best relationship with my father, and his partner Blair is a big part of the reason why. While I don't hate her, she is extremely obnoxious and childish. She's also horrible with boundaries. It feels like anytime someone tells her no, she hears maybe. She's been like this for as long as I've known her. but it's become harder to deal with since I had children, so I try to keep some distance. Anyway, Blair and my father are planning on going to Orlando in July. About a month ago, she asked whether me, my husband, and our kids, 7 male and 3 female, wanted to join them. I thanked her for inviting us, but said no, because we're planning on going next January and there's a pretty big chance I'll have to work in July. Also, and I didn't say this to her, we've been to Orlando with her before, and my husband has stated he'd rather eat glass than do it again. A week later, Blair told me they were getting their tickets and asked me whether I was sure we wouldn't join them. I said I was. Days after that, my sister called me. Blair had told her I was thinking about going while inviting her and her boyfriend. I once again told Blair we wouldn't go. Finally, Blair asked me if I'd be okay with her and my father taking my kids to Orlando. I said no, because we're not even in the same hemisphere as the US, and I wouldn't let my young children travel to a different country without me or my husband. Last week, my sister babysat my kids while my husband and I went out. While we were gone, Blair visited to drop off a gift she and my father had bought for my husband. She also took the opportunity to tell my children we were all going to Orlando in July. My daughter didn't care about it much at first. I think she didn't really register it. But my son got very excited right away. He kept talking about how much he wanted to go to Disney and asking about the trip. And after watching her big brother like that, my daughter jumped on the bandwagon with him. It was both heartbreaking and infuriating to watch them like that. I called Blair and said she had 2 options. Either she'd tell my kids she'd lied and they weren't going to Orlando, or I will. I added that if she told them, she'd have the opportunity to apologize and explain herself, but if I did, I would not do that for her. Blair chose to call my children herself. I kept the phone on speaker to make sure she was apologizing, explaining everything, and making it clear we wouldn't go to Orlando in July. Both my children, especially my son, were upset, but my husband and I had a talk with them and managed to cheer them up. My father texted me yesterday. He said that he didn't appreciate the way I dealt with this. Blair is still upset and thinks my kids are mad at her now. He wants me to apologize, or at least try to get my kids to forgive her, but I don't see why I should. She was the one who lied to my children, and I'm not responsible for Blair's feelings. We're still on this back and forth, and I can tell neither of us is particularly proud about this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Well, she did lie to your kids after repeatedly being told you were not going to. Dad. 1. Did she ask me if I would go and I answered no? 2. Did she ask us if the kids could travel far away on their own to meet up with you guys? And I said no. 3. Did she lie and tell the kids they were going with them to Disney in Orlando when she knew it was a lie? 4. Did she cause us and the kids undue stress because of that lie? 5. Did she overstep and cross boundaries? The answer to all of these are yes. Therefore, we do not owe her anything, especially an apology. However, you, Dad, need to say you're sorry for gaslighting us with your wife's actions and demanding an apology for negative boundary-crossing behaviors. You both will be on time out until you can act like adults and take responsibility for your actions. Have a nice day. I would seriously consider a no-contact period until Blair learns that lying has consequences. I've considered going low contact with Blair for a while, not due to lies. This was the first time she lied to my kids, but because dealing with her genuinely feels like dealing with a child. Tell your father you will not apologize to liars. Period. Tell him if he persists, you will be going low contact with both of them. Not the a-hole. Of course Blair thinks your kids are mad at her. They should be. Blair created the situation by lying to them, and now she gets to accept the consequences. You can certainly discuss with your kids what it means to forgive someone who has done something wrong. Everyone needs to give and receive forgiveness at some point. But the ideal result is for your kids to tell Blair that they forgive her for lying to them when they are ready to do so. That will reinforce Blair's responsibility for this situation. My daughter isn't mad. She's upset, but mostly about the situation, rather than anyone specifically. My son is very much upset at Blair. Last story. Am I the a-hole for asking my cousin to pay me back for a dress she borrowed and ruined at a wedding? My cousin, 27 female, and I, 25 female, are pretty close, and we've always shared clothes here and there. A few weeks ago, she asked to borrow a dress of mine for a wedding. I was a little hesitant because it was one of my favorite dresses, not designer or anything crazy expensive, but still around $180, and I had only wore it once. I asked her to be careful and she promised she would be. She returns it a few days later in a plastic bag. When I opened it, smelled like wine and had a huge stain down the front. I texted her right away and she just said, "Oh my god, I know. I'm so sorry. I meant to tell you it was such a crazy night. Lol." I asked if she could cover the dry cleaning or replace the dress if it didn't come out, and she said, "I don't really have money for that right now. Can't you just wash off the stain?" I brought it to a professional cleaner and they couldn't get the stain out. The fabric is basically ruined. I asked if she could at least split the cost of a replacement and she got annoyed. She said I was being materialistic and that I shouldn't have loaned it if I wasn't okay with something happening to it. I told her that I didn't mind sharing things, but if you ruin something someone trusted you with, it's fair to replace it. She's been cold to me since, and she also hasn't taken any real responsibility for it. Am I the a-hole for asking her to pay me back after ruining something she borrowed? Not the a-hole, and don't share clothes anymore. She 100% knew what she was doing and expected you to just not say anything about it. Don't forget to shame her in front of friends and family. Next time someone hands her something at the family dinner table, oh, be careful. You don't want her to treat that like she did my dress. Oh, you didn't hear that story? She borrowed my favorite dress and ruined it. Huge wine stain. Just left it in a plastic bag. Then she wouldn't even pay the cost of getting it cleaned. Didn't matter. It was totally ruined. Then she called me materialistic and said I shouldn't have loaned it to her if I cared if it got ruined. I honestly wouldn't trust her with that dish of scalloped potatoes. Not the a-hole. If you ruin something you borrowed, you replace it. That's basic respect, not materialism. Crazy night lol doesn't cut it when the dress is stained beyond saving. Being broke isn't a free pass to damage other people's stuff and walk away. She's not mad at you, she's mad you're holding her accountable. Replace shouldn't have loaned it out if OP wasn't okay with something happening to it. With cousin shouldn't have borrowed it if she wasn't okay replacing it if something happened to it. OP should ask for full reimbursement and never lend anything to her cousin again. People suck, not the a-hole. Definitely tell her immediately that you won't loan her anything in the future, not even a scrunchie, since you aren't okay with something happening to it. Not the a-hole. Do you have a family group chat? Then share what happened with them. Remember the picture. A-hole for refusing to speak to my mom after 35 years of no contact now that she's old? Okay, so I, 56 female, have been total no contact with my mother for 35 years because she married 8 times, had 6 kids, all different fathers, and parentified me since I was 10. She allowed violations to happen to all 3 of us girls, and actually told me to shut up, he didn't hurt you, when she walked in and saw it happening to me. She lied about who my father was, and I didn't find out until I was 50 and did one of those DNA tests. I am the only child that went to college and made a life for myself. The others are druggies. So, I got a Facebook message from her oldest one, the one that did a crime she saw, saying I need to pitch in to take care of her, since she's not doing well. So, my anxiety is off the charts. I need to say that they all live in the Southwest, and I live on the East Coast. I replied that if he contacted me again, I would call the police. Now the sisters are trying to get me to take her in as you have a big place and money. I haven't spoken to my siblings in over a decade. I told them that they had no idea what is going on in my life, so kick rocks. So am I the a-hole for continuing my no contact with them all? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Just read the title and I'm already at nope. And now that I read half of it, hell to the no. Block everyone. Move, change your name, dye your hair, consider plastic surgery, and never ever do a publicly available DNA test. So you already did a DNA test. Your best bet is a pack of angry Jack Russell Terriers guarding the perimeter of your home. OMG, you made me laugh so hard. Thank you. I have vicious Yorkies and lots of pew-pews. Not a-hole. That sounds awful. I'm so sorry. You don't owe them anything. It sounds like you know that intellectually, but it's getting to you emotionally, which makes total sense. I would suggest not only blocking them, but maybe talking to a counselor and getting some extra support. Hearing from them sounds like it's bringing up old trauma. Having some extra support can help you stay strong and stay in no contact when they try to guilt you, as you know they will, and hopefully will also give you longer-term peace. I wish you the best. Thank you. I have been in therapy for a number of years. I moved across the country 7 years ago because I couldn't get the siblings to respect boundaries. Best thing I ever did. I haven't let myself make friends here yet, but maybe soon. Thanks again. I'm so sorry your family sucks. Good for you for putting physical distance between you all. Please, please, do not feel guilty. Your feelings are pangs of hurt over what you never had. Feel them, remember the loss of your childhood and bio family, and move on without guilt. We Reddit strangers totally support you. Your mental health is so important. Not the a-hole. Why were they not all blocked? Hadn't heard from any of them in 10 years because I had blocked them. But some idiot showed them how to make new accounts because none of them are smart enough to do it on their own. Lol. Not the a-hole. My partner comes from an insanely abusive and toxic family, his mother being the root of all evil. He once told his therapist that he feels bad for not talking to her because she's getting old. His therapist asked him if he thought her aging erased all that she had done. Obviously it had not. He said just because someone is old doesn't mean they automatically become a better person or regret all the damage they had done. It just means they're old. Just keep blocking. You don't owe any of them anything. Now for the mini update. Okay folks, hope this is the way to update. I decided to do what like 100% of what y'all said. I sent a group email to the lot of them, telling them that I would not be engaging in their theatrics. They could figure out what to do with Mommy Dearest, and I will not be a part of their solution. I said I will be blocking all of them, and if they contacted me in any way, shape, or form, law enforcement would be contacted. Then just for good measure, I told them all to buzz all the way off, and have the day you deserve. Thanks everyone for reaffirming what I knew was right. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to cater for my sister's wedding after she ghosted me for 5 years? I'm male 33, I'm a professional chef and own a successful upscale restaurant in my city. My younger sister, female 29, and I used to be best of friends until 5 years back when we had a falling out over a minor issue. She lent a prized book of mine to her friend without asking me, and it came back in a state of disrepair. The disagreement spiraled into a fight and she cut me off completely, refusing to communicate with me despite my numerous attempts to apologize and fix things. 3 weeks back, out of nowhere, I received a call from her. My joy was short-lived when she quickly got to her point. She was getting married and wanted me to cater her wedding. For free. Moreover, her request was not merely to provide a main course, but also specialized gourmet meal options for a cosmopolitan guest list. A task that involves a lot of work and money. I've felt a pang of hurt. It felt incredibly selfish and hurtful that after 5 years of silence, she contacted me for a favor, an expensive one at that. Hence, I declined, telling her that while I was happy about her upcoming nuptials, it was unfair of her to expect me to invest so much of my time, resources, and expertise for free, especially after the way she treated me. Now my parents are upset with me, saying that it's been long and I should have forgiven her. They think I'm being vengeful and using this opportunity to get back at her. But honestly, I'm just deeply hurt. Am I the a-hole here? Not the a-hole. She didn't call to make amends. She hasn't apologized. She called for expensive freebies. If she wanted to make amends, she would have apologized and offered to pay for what she was requesting. Remind your parents that this isn't you getting back at her, but refusing to pay X out of pocket for someone who is now a stranger. Mom and Dad are on your case because they don't want to get stuck with a catering bill. Hold firm. Nowhere in there does OP say that he's even actually invited to the wedding. Sis definitely sounds like the kind of a-hole who would tell him that he's there as a caterer, not a guest. If you're catering it, you basically can't attend. Maybe toward the end of the reception, when the rest of the staff is only doing cleanup. But the amount of prep beforehand probably rules out both the wedding and most of the reception. Thanks, I really appreciate this answer. Thinking about the next steps. Might try talking to my parents and sister. If you happen to make it to that wedding, apologize to her partner for me, because your sister sounds like an entitled nightmare. She didn't even try to sugarcoat the request, and on top of that is actively trying to take advantage of you and your success. This request goes beyond forgive and forget. I could understand if the agreement was to pay for the cost of ingredients and utilities, and maybe excluding your time. But to suggest what is probably hundreds of dollars, if not thousands, is simply outrageous. Imagine if you did this for free. I'd bet just about anything to say, she immediately goes back to radio silence. You are not the a-hole. Stay strong and hold on, OP. Don't give in and stick to your guns. Good luck. She didn't even try to sugarcoat the request. Yes, because in her head, she is kind of doing the first move and giving him the opportunity to apologize by doing this. That's how entitled people work. Not the a-hole. Not sure how her destroying your prized book makes you the bad guy, but the fact she thought she would guilt you into doing this for free is hilarious. Tell your parents you will do it if they pay you for it. Full price now, no discount. If they agree, then go ahead and do it. Otherwise, do not feel bad at all. Also would not go to the wedding. And the payment before the wedding. If you let it after, I bet they will not pay you. I wouldn't even allow her in the restaurant or her party. She'll probably destroy something else. I'm sorry that she's using you, but I wouldn't help her. And tell your parents to mind their business. They're not the ones having to shell out the cost, and the only reason they're pushing for it, so they can get it for free. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying I am not an aunt? I, 30 female, have no contact with my older brother, 34 male, or his wife, 28 female, and have not done for over a year. For around 3 years prior to that, our relationship was only upsetting. No matter what I did or said, his wife would claim I was behaving rudely or maliciously, and would scream and cry until I apologized. My brother, her parents, and her brother contacted me over the years to explain this was how she related to girls. Screaming and crying and reconciling afterwards was her way to be close to girls, and I was urged many times to play along and accept this about her, because over time we would become close from it. But it got to the point where it was unbearable. Every message and interaction with her is exhausting, and she delighted in putting me down in front of other people. My brother absolutely enabled this and made everything worse. In fact, the final straw was him secretly recording a conversation we had where he asked me some deeply personal questions. At the time, I thought he was trying to be vulnerable together to mend our relationship, and I caught him playing the recording to her as they both laughed at me. I got a job opportunity far away and jumped at it, making going no contact suddenly much easier, and have not spoken to either of them since. They have also not tried to contact me since I moved. They recently had a child, something I only know about because my mom told me, and she has begun pestering me to visit them and send gifts/messages. I have tried to say no thank you, and even explained if they reached out, I would respond, but I am not interested in initiating contact. But every conversation I have with her now begins and ends with, "You are an aunt now. You need to act like it," or some variation. So today I said, I am not an aunt. I am not in this baby's life in any way, and she was really upset with me. She asked me if I was rejecting her grandchild, which of course I am not. She is welcome to have a relationship with whoever she wants and be as involved as she wants. But I am not in this baby's life, as an aunt or otherwise, and I don't see that changing in the future, honestly. The conversation only soured from there, with her insisting that if I refuse to accept I am an aunt, then I am claiming she is not a grandmother. She's now not speaking to me and insists I'm being unnecessarily hurtful and creating sadness in a time that should be happy. I really don't think of myself as an aunt at all, but I'm now wondering if it was cruel to voice that thought. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You are not the a-hole, but you might need to consider going no contact with your mother as well. It seems like it's not only your brother enabling your sister-in-law's weird behavior, but also your own mother. What has your father to say about all this? Do you have any other siblings? I have 2 other younger brothers who both think she is nutty, but she adores them, so they have a civil relationship. She constantly makes posts about how she loves them and calls them little/big brother, never their names. The only time she got upset with them directly, as far as I know, was when they refused to call her big sister in return. But about a week later, she acted like nothing had happened and never brought it up again. Her own brother told me she just knows how to be close to boys better than girls, and that is why she gets on well with them. I have never asked them to get involved, but my youngest brother has had arguments with our oldest one over her behavior a few times. It just never goes anywhere. But he does not speak to her directly anymore, just through my brother, and only sees her at family functions because of how she treats me. He has, however, gone to visit the baby, and it was the first time he went to their house. My parents are divorced, but my dad is on my side. He was the one who told me to cut them both out of my life. He actually took them out for a meal and discussion over it, right before I left, to get a feel of the situation and see how we could fix everything. But he told me afterwards there was nothing to be done because they seemed to enjoy the whole situation. He said to him, it seems they like having an outside person to blame things on, and I was just unlucky to be chosen for that role. Oh wow, this is just so messed up. Sorry to say it, but this is truly good riddance. But looking at this, it might be that your older brother and sister-in-law are pressuring your mother into making you come to see the baby by restricting her access to the baby. I can't see a different explanation for her being so desperately connecting you not wanting to be an aunt to her being a grandmother. It's good that you are not completely alone and still have your father and younger brothers as support in this matter. I hope your bond with them will stay strong and wish you the best for the future. Stay strong. I actually did not consider that she was being pressured by them in some way. I always assumed they never spoke about me at all, so thank you for that perspective. If it is true and they are holding her time with the baby at ransom until I comply, then I can understand why my comments upset her so much. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not entering a queue for the second time when my girlfriend gave her food away to a homeless man? I, 24 male, was out with my girlfriend, 25 female tonight, and we were in the city center. It was crowded, and the queues for everything were extremely long. There was a food truck that sold tacos that she really wanted to try. The queue is very long, and she gets tired quickly, so she sat on a bench while I waited for in line to get her tacos. After about 30 minutes of standing in line, I got her tacos and we started walking to a nearby restaurant to get myself some dinner too, before we head home. On the way, there was a homeless man sitting down in the street, and before I know it, she diverted towards him to hand him her food. I thought that was quite sweet actually, and we continued walking, until she asked if we could go back and get more tacos, because she actually really wanted them, and didn't want food from where I was getting mine. I said the line is even longer now than when we left it, and I can't just stand in line for over 30 minutes again. I said she can pick a restaurant and we'll go get food there, but she insisted that she had those tacos in her mind all week, and she really wants them. I said the line was even longer by the time we left, and it wouldn't make sense for us to go back, and for me to stand there all over again for those tacos. She said she'll compromise and stand there till she gets tired, then we can switch, which would have been maybe 10 minutes. I said I'm already tired and fed up because of the extremely long day I had, and I would really appreciate if she doesn't push this and we can get them next weekend. She said, I didn't ask you to go to war, you know. All you have to do is stand there. So I said, if it's nothing, you won't need me for it, and you can stand in line yourself. She didn't say a word to me the whole way home. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You stood in line once. While her thought in reaching out and offering her food was kind, that doesn't give her an expectation of you standing in the line again. She should maybe look at it as her own sacrifice for helping someone who was hungry. This right here, she didn't really think that through. It's highly inappropriate that she asked him to get her more tacos after she gave hers away. Yeah, this kind of feels like someone donating money to a charity but using their daddy's credit card to pay. Sometimes I wonder if people type out a whole story of something they think is about themselves and don't see all the underlying red flags about their significant other's character they revealed. Not the a-hole. She could have stood in the line herself or picked something else. Yeah, she can stand in the line again while Opie gets his food, and they'll maybe be done at relatively the same time. I suggested this actually, but she said she physically cannot stand for that entire time on her own, and she'll need to sit after a while, so I need to be there. Not the a-hole. You don't get to inconvenience other people for your good deed. Thank you. I've been in this situation before, and it sucks. I even started to question my acquaintance with that person because they got me in this situation far more often than I'd prefer. And the worst thing is, I started to believe I was a bad person for not helping someone help someone else. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom the exact moment I lost all love and respect for her? I, 21 male, live with my older sister, 23, and my two younger sisters, 17 and 15. My older sister currently has legal custody over our two younger sisters, and at one point even had legal custody over me when I was still a minor. She basically gained custody of us all when she was 19 because our mom was an addict. My mom is currently going through end-stage kidney failure, assumingly because all of those years of not taking care of herself caught up to her. When she first started going to dialysis about 5 months ago, she put me down as her emergency contact. And at first, I just sucked it up and dealt with it because she doesn't have anyone else in this part of the country. And my older sister doesn't talk to her for reasons you can't imagine. However, yesterday when the clinic contacted me and I had to pick her up, I informed her that she needed to put someone else down because I wouldn't be answering those calls anymore, after she had her family members leave threatening messages to my older sister. This angered her, and she started going on about why I didn't love her anymore and when I stopped loving her. So I told her. The exact moment I stopped loving her and respecting her was when I was 13. I had just entered high school. I was big into football and the coach at the time was brutal. He was making us practice 2 times a day at 5 a.m. and after school. I told her how I woke up one morning and she passed out on the couch off of whatever substance she was using at the time, and my older sister, only 15 at the time, was freaking out because we had no food. We never had any food. She was freaking out thinking I was going to pass out from all of that practice and barely eating. I tried to assure her that I would be fine, but she went into that kitchen, grabbed the only things we had, which were 2-day-old almost burnt rice, salt, a can of green beans, and half a chicken breast, and made me and our siblings an entire fried rice meal. She made sure I ate that morning, and I ate that meal on my way to practice crying. She had to stay home from school that day like she did most days, to send younger sister off to school and to be there to pick them up. When I got home from school that day, my sister was in the kitchen cooking dinner, and there were some groceries in the fridge that she brought with the money that she got from selling her rings that our grandma gave her to some sketchy guy that used to hang out at the convenience store, all while Mom remained high and passed out. I told her that's when all love and respect for her vanished. She cried and told me that I was evil, that I'm having a moral conflict because I'm wondering if I should have been softer with her. Am I the a-hole? Info: my dad passed away of an overdose when I was 8, so he was really no better than my mom. Not the a-hole. You aren't evil. Your mother's neglect was. I wouldn't be answering those calls anymore after she had her family members leave threatening messages to my older sister. Time to go no contact with your mother and these family members. Good luck. Also, OP, I know there is some pressure because she's dying, but she left your life and role as a parent a long time ago. Do not feel guilt of any sort for cutting contact at this time. You can continue to make peace with what role she played in your life on your own. You do not need to subject yourself to more of it. Release yourself from that responsibility. Agreed. If she wants you to be at her deathbed but she never apologizes, don't go. You're letting her trample all over you one last time in her own way. You're letting them get their say on the way out without ever showing contrition. Someone here recommended the book Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents, and it helped me. Try it. You have a lot of resentment. Write a letter to your mom and your dad if he's around, with all your feelings in it, and then burn it for catharsis. As you watch the flames, focus on letting go of that hurt and resentment. Thank you for the recommendation. I'll definitely look into getting that book. As for our dad, he passed away of an overdose when I was 8. In this vein, I've found specific support groups online to be really helpful. General subs like this are a good gut check, but for the really specific stuff and having a safe place to voice your feelings, as a good community will have extremely no-nonsense and active mods, is huge. Just do a vibe check first. Some keywords would be adult children of addicts, and definitely read up on sidebars/intros to see if a particular place resonates with you and your experiences. Everyone's situation is a little different, and that kind of neglect will impact people in different ways even within the same family. Find a group that offers the support that you need. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling someone they're selfish for asking a 22-year-old to become a child's guardian? My 22 female boyfriend Malcolm, 22 male, has a half-sister Elena, 12 female. They have the same dad, and he's not involved in their lives. Their moms became close friends and they were raised seeing one another, but Malcolm's mom moved abroad a couple of years ago. Elena's mom, Sandra, was diagnosed with cancer last year. She went through treatment, but it's been determined that there's nothing they can do but make her comfortable, and Sandra will pass sometime this year. She has no family, so Malcolm has spent a lot of time helping care for Elena, driving her to school, making the meals, etc. Recently, Malcolm sat me down. He said that Sandra asked to speak to him. She said she understood if the answer was no, but asked for him to take on custody of Elena, sooner rather than later. That way, she could adjust to him being her guardian before she passes. Malcolm would move in with them. Sandra had a sizable life insurance policy and an account to help him care for Elena. To my surprise, he agreed to all of this without consulting me. I pointed this out, and he said we've only been together 6 months, so I asked if he didn't feel too young for all this. He said sort of, but he'd do it for Elena. Without further discussion, he subleased his apartment and moved in with Sandra and Elena. Saturday, I stopped by to pick up Malcolm for lunch. He hadn't returned from work yet, so I was waiting with Sandra. We were making small talk and she mentioned how grateful she was for Malcolm and that he was a sweet boy. I asked if he was really her only option. I mentioned his mom and Sandra said Elena's losing enough. She doesn't want to force her to move abroad on top of everything. She also doesn't feel right asking Malcolm's mom to move back. I said I found the whole thing a little selfish. Malcolm is only 22. He shouldn't be tied down raising a child. Sandra got defensive and said she wished she didn't have to ask him. Plus, he said yes. I asked what else was he supposed to say. Sandra told me I was upsetting her and asked me to leave. Malcolm called me later, screaming at me. He said that I upset Sandra. I said I was trying to defend him and point out options she may not have thought of. Malcolm told me to butt out and to get on board with this or walk away, and hasn't spoken to me since. I saw Elena at the mall on Sunday and she just ignored me. My mom told me I screwed up big time. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. I swear to God, if I see one anti-A on this thread, I lose my faith in humanity. You should listen to your mother. Sounds like she's a smart woman. Malcolm got lucky. He just got a glimpse into your soul when you let your mask slip. It is twisted under there. And cruel. For God's sake, harassing a dying woman? Really? And shameless about it no less. Lucky for him he saw that early on and hasn't spent years of his life with you. I'm genuinely confused why he hasn't made a clean break yet. Maybe he has and just can't be bothered to inform you. It's one thing for the OP to break up with Malcolm because she feels too young to help raise a child or be in a relationship with someone raising a child. But what an a-hole to think she has the right to interfere after just 6 months of dating. I think he has dumped her. I suspect get on board with this or walk away meant that if she didn't call with an apology, he was assuming she was walking away. You're the a-hole. You've been seeing him for a few months. That is his sister. It's not up to you to decide it is selfish for a dying mother to ask family to become a guardian. Honestly, you are not only selfish, you are asking a family you barely know to uproot a child who is going to lose her mother, to move that child abroad so that you can have your boyfriend all to yourself. Selfish, entitled, and arrogant all in one move. Fact is, this mother has a death sentence. She's not going to be around. He's stepping up. And it has absolutely nothing to do with you if he does step up. I'd be proud of someone stepping up at that age. Want to support them with it. The fact you don't shows so much selfishness. A 6-month relationship is not more important than his little sister who is going to lose her mother. Next story. Am I the a-hole for resenting that my sister was cruel about my pregnancy but is celebrating our sister's pregnancy? This involves me, 26 female, and my sisters Abby, 28 female, and Megan, 31 female. I had a baby at 16, which I know isn't great. But accidents happen, right? I do not think I was a bad person for this happening. I took responsibility and was committed to raising my son and being a good mom. My parents supported me as best as they could by babysitting and helping with finances, even though that came from my college fund. However, Megan, who was still in college but still living at home, made it clear that she was not supportive. She said she would not babysit or even watch my son if I needed to shower. She said she wasn't going to suffer for my mistake, which hurt me so much. Abby babysat for me sometimes and was happy to watch my son when I needed a rest. I badly wanted a baby shower and to feel celebrated even in a small way, but my parents said they could not help as they were stressed about the situation. I didn't have many friends, so I asked Abby and Megan. Abby was sympathetic, but Megan said she wouldn't help out at all. She told me that a teen pregnancy was not something to be celebrated. Abby just kind of followed what she said, and I ended up never getting a baby shower. I always kind of regret that because I doubt I'll have another child. Now I'm doing okay. I graduated from community college. I have an apartment where I live with my son, and I have a good co-parenting relationship with his dad. Abby announced her pregnancy some time ago, and her baby shower was this weekend. Of course I went. She made a little speech and thanked Aunt Megan for organizing the entire thing. Megan was so bubbly and happy and said how excited she was for Abby's baby. I got upset and quietly left to not make a scene. Megan came inside and asked what was up. I told her that I was hurt that she would do all this for Abby but nothing for me. She awkwardly said they were two different situations and I shouldn't make this a big deal in Abby's day. We got into it, and I ended up leaving early and Abby called to find out what was going on. I told her, and she felt pretty bad. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. I hovered between that and not the a-hole, but went with no a-holes here because, while I think you are well within your rights to feel upset about it, 21-year-old Megan and 31-year-old Megan are probably very different people. You just can't fairly compare her actions as a college student to her actions as an adult. If Megan is still giving you grief today and not stepping into the Aunt Megan role for your son, then I change my response to not the a-hole. Thank you. Honestly, she has not really been an aunt to him. She does get him birthday and Christmas gifts. That will make conversation with him when we're all together, but doesn't really try to hang out with him or talk to him on her own. Abby's an actual aunt to him, and that she will take him out sometimes, just them. If she's already treating unborn baby as a blessing and celebrating it but is distant to her nephew, the favoritism is going to be very obvious later. No a-holes here. I am sorry that you missed out on so much excitement. Even when times are challenging, you still want milestones celebrated. Unfortunately, there are consequences to all actions and neither you or your sisters are in the same place now as you were then. Having a baby at 16 is extremely different than 28. And throwing a baby shower is something a 31-year-old does, not a college student focused on schoolwork. Your son is not a mistake, but getting pregnant was an accident. Sometimes it's hard to celebrate accidents. All you can do now is focus on the good you have. This entirely. Teen pregnancy is different than adult pregnancy, and college student aunts are different than adult aunts. Especially if said student is aware she'll be sharing her home with a baby, since Opie said Megan was also living at home while studying. She even might have felt she was punished for Opie's choices. We're always more judgmental about things that directly affects us after all. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling a girl just because she had a crappy husband doesn't mean everyone is? I, 36 male, met my wife when we were 14, started dating at 16, and still together now. I know that doesn't always work for people, but it worked for us. This weekend, I was hanging out at a friend's house with a bunch of people. There was a girl there who is a friend of one of my friend's girlfriend. We'll call her Jane. I don't know her that well, but I see her around often because we are in the same friend circle. Drinks were flowing, and somehow the topic came up about how many person everyone has slept with. Jane was shocked when I mentioned I had only slept with one person. Context: Jane also married her high school sweetheart. They broke up when she found out that he had basically cheated the whole relationship with multiple women. One of his piss-poor excuses was that he hadn't had a chance to have fun or play the field yet before settling down. Anyway, she couldn't believe I have only slept with my wife, and said that I must have cheated. I told her even if I had, why would I admit it? I've been with my wife since we were 16. Admitting to it would mean admitting I have cheated, which I haven't. And in response to that, she just said that must mean that I have and I'm lying about it. At this point, I am getting annoyed because she's straight up accusing me of being unfaithful. She said she knows from experience how unlikely it is. That's when I said that just because her husband was crappy doesn't mean we all are. She just mumbled a whatever and was quiet for the rest of the night. I was talking to my friend the next day who said her girlfriend told him how upset Jane got over that. She apparently said that I know what she has been through and could have been more understanding. I said I understand what she's been through, but she doesn't need to put her wishes on me and basically accuse me of cheating. My friend said he understood, but probably would have been best to just leave it. Am I the a-hole? Nope, not the a-hole, but Jane sure is. She pushed the issue. You shut it down and now she's butthurt. Too bad, so sad. Not your monkeys, not your circus. You don't owe her an apology, and your friend needs to shut up. I mean, my friend was mainly just echoing what his girlfriend was saying. I don't think he cares either way. Maybe not, but either way he needs to shut up. He's wrong, his girlfriend is wrong, Jane is wrong. They're all a-holes here and you are not. Not the a-hole. Some people have a romantic partner their whole lives. Jane may have had a rough time, but her projecting that onto Opie and trying to accuse him of cheating was not cool. She should apologize to him, and not the other way around. Not the a-hole. Jane kept accusing you of cheating in public. No, basically about it, and you shut that down. You wouldn't have had to do that if she hadn't brought up and pressed the issue. How could you have been more understanding or left it without leaving her accusation hanging unaddressed? The general consensus seems to be that I could have just denied it, that I didn't have to bring up her experience. My response to that was that I did deny it, but she didn't drop it until I mentioned her ex-husband. Mission accomplished if you ask me. Exactly. You didn't stir anything up. She did by continuing to push. She refused to drop it until she got an answer she didn't like. People like your friend are the worst. They want to score points as peacekeepers, but always at your expense and never their own. If they're not willing to defend you, then they can shut up about you defending yourself. Instead, they want you to tie your arms behind your back so you're easier to hit. That's toxic, just for your information. You're allowed to defend yourself with the same energy being thrown at you, especially after you first tried to defuse the situation. Stealing this because I always have a hard time explaining that people are too cowardly to stick up for someone, then they don't get a say on how that someone sticks up for themselves, especially if they aren't in the wrong. Am I the a-hole for switching to regular milk to prove my lactose-intolerant roommate keeps stealing from me? Me and 2 other guys share an apartment together, and we split all the bills. The only thing we don't split costs on is groceries. Everyone's in charge of buying their own food, and we don't touch whatever doesn't belong to us in the fridge. We put our names on everything, so no one gets mixed up. This issue has been going on for almost a year, and I'm sick of it. One of my roommates, Ray, keeps stealing my food. I get home from work and containers with my leftovers are sometimes missing. They have my name written on them, or my stuff finishes too quickly. My gallon of milk, for example. I buy almond milk because I like the taste, but it seems to run out after a week, even though I've only had it once or twice. I've confronted Ray about this lots of times, and it's caused a lot of arguments. He outright denies it and tells me I'm crazy, even though it's so obvious. My other roommate and I carpool together because we both work the same early morning shifts around the same area, so I know it's not him. It's always after we get back home and Ray's already left for work that I notice my food's gone. My roommates had a similar problem, but not as often as I do. I'm guessing it's because Ray doesn't like what he buys. The funny thing is, Ray buys a lot for himself and is even more stingy about his food. He will literally point out what's his when he comes back from grocery shopping and tell us not to touch it. Last week, my milk was nearly empty again, and I got fed up. I went to the liquor store and bought regular dairy milk. I drank what was left of my almond milk and refilled the gallon with the one I bought. This was to catch and prove Ray is the one stealing since he's lactose intolerant. The next day, Saturday, we get back from work and Ray is pissed. He yelled at me that he was stuck in the bathroom for 40 minutes with diarrhea because of my milk. He was using it to make a shake. I only responded with, "So then you're the one who's been stealing?" He freaking exploded. Yeah, he admitted he was sometimes drinking my milk and eating my food, but he was more mad that I switched milks than the fact that he was caught. I told him I wouldn't have done that if he'd just stopped taking my stuff from the fridge, or at least told the truth instead of trying to make it seem like I was making it up. Our other roommate backed me up and thought it was kind of funny he got payback for stealing from us. It's a little tense right now, and my roommate told me Ray is trying to convince him to agree to kick me out. Little does he know, we're both looking to move somewhere else together because we are sick of his crap. I told some buddies what happened, and a few think I was an a-hole for that. I feel like I'm not in the wrong here. He was taking my food and not even owning up to it, and I wanted to prove it. Does that make me the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. As you said, if Ray wasn't stealing your food, he wouldn't have had a problem. How dare you make me face the consequences of my own actions? Imagine a thief is used to burglarizing a home because all he had to do is punt the chihuahua to break in, and suddenly one day it gets replaced with a Rottweiler and the thief then complains to the homeowners how dare they get a new flesh-tearing dog. Basically his roommate. Not the a-hole. It's your food. You could have put your medicine in it, or even your pet's medication in it. You could have put a laxative in it, or even syrup of ipecac, and I would still say not the a-hole. When people steal food, lie about it, and don't replace it, they reap what they sow. Food is expensive, especially milk substitutes. Without replacing the food, he was essentially stealing money from your wallet. Oh yeah, it really is. I try to buy from grocery stores that sell all organic, so it does get pretty expensive. Not the a-hole. You can tell him you could have done something much worse like peeing in the milk, or putting vinegar in it. Instead, he went a somewhat more mature way by buying real dairy milk. I was gonna drink that milk too, so better it wasn't pee or vinegar lol. Not the a-hole. I read a story where something similar occurred. OP liked spicy food, and food thief ate it, then reported OP to HR for trying to poison him. Eventually, OP got fired after HR agreed with food thief. OP got a lawyer and story came out that HR and food thief were in a relationship. Company owner fired both offenders and hired OP back with increased pay. Dude sucks for stealing your food, and I would have done the same thing. Damn, that's wild. Damn, now I wish we could switch scenarios so I can get paid more instead of being stuck with him as a roommate. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not lending my sister-in-law money after she got the house that was supposed to be shared? Okay, so this has been eating at me, and I need outside opinions before I lose my mind. A few months ago, my late grandparents' house was finally handed over. For years, we were always told, literally by my grandma herself, that the house would go to all of us, as in shared between me, my siblings, and even my sister-in-law, my brother's wife. You know, family home vibes? So I never made any plans of my own when it came to housing. I thought I'd eventually live there, or at least have a stake. Well, turns out the will had one name, just one. My sister-in-law. Not even my brother, her. My mom says it's because she helped take care of my grandparents during their last years, which is true, but so did I, just less visibly. I don't want to sound petty, but it felt like getting kicked in the teeth. No heads up. No, hey, by the way, the house is hers now. Just silence, then surprise. Fast forward to now, my sister-in-law asked if I could lend her money for home repairs. Like fixing the roof or plumbing, I don't even remember. I just said, sorry, I can't right now. Which is true, but also, yeah, I don't want to help fund a house that was basically yanked out from under me. Now some family members are acting like I'm being dramatic or holding a grudge. Maybe I am, but wouldn't anyone feel weird about this? I didn't yell, I didn't make a scene, I just politely said no. So, am I the a-hole for keeping my wallet shut? It wasn't your house when your grandma was alive, and now you know it isn't going to be even a small part of your house anymore. It means now you need to save money for your own. Not the a-hole. Yeah, you're right. I think deep down I was still clinging to the idea that it would be our family home like my grandma always said. But I guess that chapter's closed now, and you're right. It's probably time I focus on building something for myself instead of holding on to what could have been. Thanks for the reality check. Not the a-hole. In what world do siblings have to help fund home repairs? It's not something that I have ever seen. She's acting very entitled to even ask, regardless of how she got the house. Sister-in-law gets the house, which means your brother does too, but all the other relatives expect you to put up the money? Yeah, I get how weird it sounds, but that's literally what happened. The title is under her name only, not even my brother's. And now that stuff needs fixing, people are saying I should help because it's still family property. Like, how is it ours again now that money is involved? It just felt like I got cut out when it mattered most. So yeah, I'm not super motivated to help out financially. No hard feelings, just boundaries. My stepmom, I was like 30 when they got married. I was all set as far as mothers go. Pulled something similar after my dad died. After the funeral, we found out she got the house, which, fair enough. I didn't expect his will to make her homeless. But then within weeks, she says she needs help with the mortgage and repairs, and some appliances that need replacing or some stuff. Coincidentally, I had just gotten a $5,000 life insurance check, which was the full extent of my inheritance. There shouldn't have been a mortgage. They drained their equity dry and pissed it away on vacations and luxury cars, while I was and am barely treading water, and she still had the gall to cry pauper. Sounds like your dad gave her the house so she couldn't escape the home equity loans they took out. I'd be wondering if she's the one who took them out, and this was his revenge, but we don't have enough information to say one way or the other. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to hang out with my husband's friend as a couple after his wife was a bridezilla and yelled at me? My husband was a groomsman in a wedding a little under 2 years ago. He was very close with the groom, but unfortunately, their friendship started falling off shortly after the groom started dating his now wife because she's socially abrasive and has to be right in conversation. as if everything were a debate. She once yelled at my husband to get out when he walked into their house to use the restroom. He had the groom's permission while visiting. It ended up being an uncomfortable visit in the garage. Cue the wedding. The bride called me on our way to the venue. The bridal party was asked to arrive 2 hours early and asked me to pick up a sign-in book since it was overlooked. I was happy to help. My husband and I, one other wife, a friend of the groom, and a few other groomsmen were chatting during some idle time when I heard the bride screaming at the top of her lungs that anyone not in the bridal party is not allowed to be in that part of the venue until the wedding begins. Being one of the 3 guests there, one of 2 with spouses in the bridal party, I was very embarrassed. There were no signs, no instructions, the valet never notified us, and security never informed us of this rule. I immediately wanted to leave and offered to pick my husband up when it was over. My husband was upset and said he would leave if they found it acceptable to treat me like that, but I told him to stay and chalked it up to her being stressed. I ended up sitting in my car for over an hour with the other wife and didn't feel fully comfortable for the rest of the night. We've seen very little of them since the wedding. They had a gender reveal and we didn't attend because my mom had just died a few days prior, and I was still an absolute mess. They were angry we didn't go and used it as an opportunity to talk badly about us. Since then, I've only seen her briefly in social settings where I try my best to keep my distance. The groom has been begging my husband and me to go boating with them, but I really don't want to be stuck on a boat with her for hours. My husband keeps bringing it up, and I keep reminding him that being around her makes me feel sick to my stomach. I tell him to go by himself, but he refuses. Every week for the past month, he's brought up offers to go boating, and every week I refuse to entertain the idea. My husband seems bothered by having to turn down what should be a fun time, but understands that it wouldn't actually be fun. I feel like I may be the a-hole because my husband and the groom were very close, and now that he's married to a woman I don't feel comfortable around, I am becoming the factor that keeps them apart. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your husband is looking for you to keep his friend's wife company. Suggest to hubby that maybe they should just make it a man's trip for just them two. I do like this idea, but his wife is very much him against doing anything without her. She has to be there or it doesn't happen. Then he's going to learn the hard way that if he lets her treat his friends poorly, all he'll have left is her, which is a classic abuser tactic. I would tell your husband to keep inviting the groom to hang out, just the 2 of them, but you have no interest in spending time with someone so abusive, but that the both of you will always be there for him if he needs you. Not the a-hole, and it's time to tell hubby he needs to stop asking you. You shouldn't have to keep telling him no and reminding him how much you don't want to be around her. His buddy's inability to stand up to his wife and tell her he's having a hangout with his buddy without her isn't your problem. Hubby can go alone or not at all, but he needs to stop bringing it up to you. Those who are saying weddings are stressful and you should give her one more chance are ignoring her horrific behavior at the gender reveal. You had just lost your mother, and instead of offering deepest sympathy, she got mad at you and bad-mouthed you to friends when you didn't attend. That's a-hole behavior. She's shown her character, and you don't need to spend time with someone so incredibly awful. Your husband needs to back off. This, and it wasn't just the wedding. She was known to be abrasive to OP before the wedding, and has repeatedly exhibited this behavior. OP's husband needs to stand up for his wife. OP is not into being around them. He either needs to tell them what's up and say he finds how his wife treated OP was abhorrent, or he needs to just shut it down and say we are not going to be that kind of friend anymore. But stop putting it to OP as a choice. Last story. Am I the a-hole for saying we should just put my wife's grandma in a nursing home? My 33 wife's 32 grandma 79 is an absolute chaos machine. She is the most manipulative person I've ever met. Everything has to be about her. And if it's not, like say a kid's birthday or my wife's other grandma's freaking funeral, she makes it about her. She threw an absolute screaming fit because we weren't thankful enough for our daughter's birthday present. Our daughter got tons of presents. We thanked everyone, but she wanted a complete show of how grateful we were that she got our daughter a $15 doll from Walmart. We were happy about it. Our daughter wanted it and played with it. We said thank you, but she was still upset that her doll wasn't the star of the show and that we didn't make a big spectacle over it. She does this about everything. She wasn't invited to a pool party that didn't even have anyone she would know, and she threw a fit. She made my wife's cousin's wife cry, got kicked out, and threw a whole tantrum over that. She didn't get invited on my wife's parents' vacation, literally just the two of them. And she called everyone in the family crying about it. She has pissed off everyone. She does this kind of crap to everyone. She made a waitress cry and complains about the food everywhere she goes. The food is fine, it's her. It's embarrassing as heck. When she was in the hospital, we had to take turns sitting with her because she would otherwise refuse medication and then act like the nurses weren't giving her her meds. The family sent "I'm sorry" pizzas and cupcakes for every shift that had to deal with her. She has done so much crap that absolutely no one wants to deal with her at all. However, my wife's family believes she is their responsibility, and so they take turns caring for her instead of putting her in a home. No one is happy about it, but they just deal with it and try to placate her. Honestly, she's probably going to outlive us all out of spite. Recently, we had a family meeting to decide how to continue dealing with her because she's just getting more violent and abusive. I suggested we put her in a home and be done with it. She is not out of her mind. She is fully cognitively fine. She's just an awful person, and now she's old and can get away with more or cry elderly abuse. Apparently, my suggestion was awful and she is our responsibility. My wife agreed with me, and a few of her cousins did as well, but my wife's dad and his siblings, not any of their spouses because they hate her and the feeling is mutual, were upset about the idea of putting their mom in a home. I mean, it's not like they couldn't visit. I'm tired of dealing with her. I'm tired of my wife dealing with her and coming home upset. I'm tired of hearing about her BS. I'm pretty sure the woman is possessed. She is spiteful, hateful, and manipulative. The only people she is nice to are the children, because they are easy to manipulate. Am I the a-hole for telling them to just put her in a home? Edit. She does not have dementia. She has been awful her whole life. She managed to get 4 men to marry her, and every one of them divorced and ran. She even lost custody of her kids, and back then, a mother straight up losing custody was nuts. 2 of her 7 kids won't even acknowledge her as their mother. Then you just opt out of taking turns taking care of her. Skip your turn forever. You are no longer participating in her care. Period. It is not up for debate or discussion. If others want to sign up to wrangle the chaos, that is their choice. And drop that dang rope. Not your monkey, not your circus. If they try to guilt stuff, shut it down. You made your choice, they made their choice. Not the a-hole. She's a grandmother. Let her children decide what to do. Either the children take care of her, or they put her in a home. Don't allow your wife to be pressured into taking on her care. Agreed. The wife's father and his siblings should make all of the decisions about this woman. In no way should the next generation, the grandchildren, OP's wife, shoulder any responsibility about her future care.